Hi there, I'm Rena, the Developer Relations Manager at TinyMCE, and today I'm here to talk about the critical role that web application security plays to us front-end developers. So this is the first video in a series, so make sure you follow along for more insights. As web applications become more increasingly critical for businesses, their operations, they're actually a great target for cyber attacks, which just means that we need to be a lot more careful. I believe there was a recent incident, the Balancer protocol breach, which exposed just how much damage attackers can inflict when they exploit front end vulnerabilities. The Balancer protocol, I believe, resulted in a loss of over $240,000. That was just what was publicly. So, in this video, we're going to go over the 7 most common front end attacks. And the attacks are cross site scripting, dependency risks, cross site request forgery or CSRF, clickjacking, CDN tampering, HTTPS downgrades, and man in the middle attacks. So let's get started with cross site scripting. What is cross site scripting? It is basically an attack that injects malicious client side code. For example, an attacker could input JavaScript that steals users' cookies from a comment form and that doesn't sanitize entries. So what that basically means is if you're piping in your username and password into a comment form, and if your cookies are storing that information that is entered and it wasn't sanitized, when people load this compromised page, the script executes to give the attacker access to your user accounts. Very risky. Number 2, dependency risks. Front-end apps, especially if you've downloaded like a React app, rely on many third-party libraries and components. And if these libraries that are not under your control, they're not part of the code that you wrote, have vulnerabilities, they can actually end up undermining the whole application. So using outdated dependencies with known issues is a very common thing that full stack and front-end developers do. How do you check this? If you run npm audit at any point, npm audit actually is a way of checking for all of those vulnerabilities. And if you see that there's an outdated dependency, don't push it to production. Make sure you address that issue. Make sure you fix the issue and run npm audit again until you see some of those critical vulnerabilities go to zero or high vulnerabilities go to zero. Because that is just informing you that this could be put your app and your users at higher risk. Number 3, cross-site request forgery. I've said a mouthful. Well, this basically forces your users to execute unwanted actions in an app that they're already logged into. For example, an attacker could actually disguise a link, sort of like clickbait, but not really, and they can quietly transfer funds from their account using the stored credentials on that link. So that is a very interesting way that cross-site request forgery works. The 4th common attack is clickjacking. It essentially uses overlays, like transparent overlays on a trusted page to trick your users into clicking on something different than what they think they're clicking. So this is commonly seen in some transfer buttons on bank accounts where you can put a transparent overlay on the button, or even in the play button, right? If you have like one of those meme pages with GIFs and you're clicking on a play button, you might actually be clicking on an overlay, and that's exactly what clickjacking is. The 5th most common front-end attack is CDN tampering. So if libraries are loaded from external CDNs, for example, TinyMCE is loaded from an external CDN, attackers could actually modify them to inject malicious code and get like users to download their app. So CDN tampering is a very common way, and you should be very careful when you are using CDN on how you download it. And we'll go more into that in future in the series. The 6th most common front-end attack is HTTPS downgrades. You basically strip away at the HTTPS encryption. So sometimes if you have a bug or you don't have an HSTS header to downgrade, then what happens is it downgrades it to an HTTP request, which is just plain unprotected HTTP. So HTTPS is what protects your HTTP. And the 7th most common front-end attack is the man-in-the-middle attack. So a lot of you might be thinking, okay, man in the middle, I've heard about it. I don't consider it a front-end attack. Well, it's because I consider it a front-end attack, and it's really important for us front-end developers to know about this, is because it's typically between the front end, the client, and the server. So in front-end security, it focuses on protecting the data as it's transferred from the user's device to the server. And that's exactly where MITM or man-in-the-middle attacks come into play. Whether it's your users interacting with it, whether it's data interception, session hijacking, these are all examples of MITM attacks. And it can really impact the communication and data transmission between your client and server. So it's really essential to understand that this sort of security requires, even if it might be something that you consider in the backend space, it requires very good knowledge in the front end space of what MITM is and how the way you communicate the data to your server could really be impacted. So here at TinyMCE, the work that our security researchers are doing in improving security of technologies worldwide, we love it. We welcome it. We do not offer any sort of bug bounty if you find a bug within TinyMCE. But if you do see something while using TinyMCE, you want to report a potential security vulnerability, contact our security team at infosec@tiny.cloud, and we will get on it. We will get on the case and we'll investigate the issue, take action to fix it. The only thing that I will request is everyone in line with the United States NIAC, which is the National Infrastructure Advisory Council, please don't disclose the security vulnerability on Reddit or some social media space. Make sure you send an email over to us with that information, just because we don't want to get it out there that there is a security vulnerability until we've taken action to fix it. Just protect your users that way and let us know how it is going. So we will, of course, try to communicate with you regarding the status of your report and also publicly attribute this issue, but just make sure you're not spreading the rumor about like a XSS vulnerability on Reddit. And finally, why are you here? If you watch the video until the end, you know that as you're building application and as more business functionalities are moving online, the web is really just going to continue to grow as an attack vector for these hackers. And our primary responsibility as JavaScript developers building front-end apps is to really step up our security practices. So having an understanding of vulnerabilities from an offender's perspective is really important for shutting down vulnerabilities before they become headlines. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was insightful. Please subscribe so you can watch more videos where I'm going to take on some demos and give you examples on what these attacks look like and what are potential solutions that you can take to make sure your application is safe. Thank you. Happy coding.